Well, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are, whenever you are. We are so excited to have you back again for another episode of Footnotes.
Footnotes. We're so glad you're with us.
Yeah,
And, this is
a ministry of Cornerstone
Cornerstone.
Apostolic Church here in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
yeah, and this is one of our ministries, and we pretty much look at what the message was this past Sunday. And I'm Dan Gibson,
And I'm Vandy Watt.
and we're glad that you're with us today.
Yeah, taking a few minutes out of your day and your time to listen in and kind of do just a quick recap, quick rediscovery, relook at what the word was. And this Sunday, Pastor
Wow.
preached.
Yeah.
Preached, man, like he was all over the place today. I feel bad. I do want to encourage you, go back and watch the sermon, watch the service. But I did feel a little bad for our streaming crew today, on Sunday, just because they had to do so many different things to try to navigate it. I'm going to tell you what, if you want to just watch somebody move around the building and not stay stationary, today was the day
That's
to tune
right.
in. Or sorry, Sunday was the day to
Yeah.
tune in and go back and check that out. But his title of his message, Pastor Dan here, was of Pastor Sloan was the speaker today, Sunday, and Pastor Dan, what title of his message?
Escape.
Escape.
Yeah, he started out, and his very beginning started talking about Alcatraz, and I thought we was going to get quite a bit of a history lesson. He didn't stay there very long, though.
No, I was kind of
Yeah.
looking forward to the history. That's kind of where I live, where I love to enjoy here. But he didn't stay there. Where did he take us to?
Yeah, he started out with Alcatraz and how that in 1962, where the escape of there was three actually escaped. There was the fourth one that was kind of the mastermind of it, but of how they got out of there. And it's one of those, I think all of us that have a little bit of a history, but history about us, like history. He started talking about how that out of the little things. I like the idea of the mystery behind it, but I think he really focused in on escaping from and if again as Brother Vandy's already said, if you have not watched it, he brought up a good little prop there and put a veil. And, of course, we've been talking about the tabernacle, and I think it's very important that, he was plugging in a veil that keeps us from getting to Jesus.
Yeah.
And that is what separated in the holy place there in the tabernacle was a veil that kept you from getting to the holies of holies. You had to first do everything that God has asked you and get to that point. But he had the veil, and he talked about how that we have issues in life and just life in general.
Yeah.
Life in general comes our way, and how that burdens us down, and we can't quite reach the Lord. And he talked about rising above.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting, the terminology parallel and paradigm here is that he talked about rising above, but there was so much depth to that as well.
Yeah.
When we think about just the concepts of getting above, so that getting above that to get this bird's eye view and kind of get an understanding of Jesus. And, all my mind kept going to, when he was talking about that, he even climbed up on a ladder on the stage, on the platform itself, and, was trying to find Jesus. And I just kept thinking about the fact that, there's this whole concept about, you can't see the forest for the trees.
So true.
That you can't see Jesus, you can't see where you're at, you can't see everything going on around you. Just simply because the fact you're in the middle of a forest. And in my brain, I kept going back to, in my mind, my brain's a dangerous place, but in my mind, I kept going back to, there is this geographical line that reaches at a certain altitude. And at that certain altitude, nothing can grow there.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that we are told to go higher, to come up higher, to go to the high places. And I find it very interesting here that as Pastor began to discuss this through his message, he kept referring back to going up higher. And I kept thinking about this tree line, the line where if you can get above that line, the obstacles, the things that obscure our vision, our ability to see where Jesus is, begin to become less and less and less and less, so much so that when you finally get to a mountaintop, you can look down and see all the greatness of everything. You can see every trail, you can see every path, you can see every mountain that exists, you can see every valley, but it requires you to rise to a new level, to go somewhere higher, to really have that vision, that ability to see all the things that when you're in the low lying areas, you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see everything that is except what's in your immediate vicinity. But if you can get to that high place and you can remove some of those obstacles above that tree line, if you can get to that point, then God's will, God's purpose, God's vision, God's direction, and ultimately the location that Jesus wants us to be in can become very real, very visible, very transparent. And it just simply says, hey, look, I can't get stuck in where I'm at now.
That's so true.
I need to get out here so that, as Pastor said in his message, is that you've got to find an escape path.
That's right.
A way of escape. You got to create an escape plan. And the only way you can truly see the way out of situations is to look at it from a higher angle, to know, oh, I need to go there. I need to go to that landmark. I need to move over there. Oh, look, there's Jesus over in that direction. So here's how I've got to maneuver through this circumstance and situation. But if I stayed in that veil, as he kept trying to push up against the veil, and it wasn't able to break free of it, but he had to find his way around it and a way of escape, that escape plan.
So true. So true. I'm just going to kind of bring this home for me. Several years ago, I had a plant manager that he taught me a very valuable lesson. He would bring me in his office, and he would tell me, this was his question. He would say, give me a 50,000 feet. That was his words. Give me a 50,000 feet. Yeah. And then I would get to talking about what all was going on. He said, no, stop. I want you to take me to 50,000 feet. And it was talking about issues on the floor, things that's going on. Just give me 50,000 feet. And the whole time he was telling me that, I would learn how to give him the overview, and I would give that to him, and then I'd get ready to leave. He said, now how do you feel about that? I said, I feel a lot better than I came in here.
Yeah.
Because many times in our life, and I'm taking that from that kind of setting, but many times in our life we get bogged down in the stuff, so to speak, of life, and we really don't understand that this thing we need to rise above it, look beyond it, because God gives us that ability to do that. Is God gives us the ability to rise above what's going on in life, and I think that's a note that we can take from this message, is that God is calling us higher. Yeah. He's calling us to a deeper depth, a higher height in Him. He was talking about his grandmother and then his mother, how they would pray. Yeah. And you would hear those ones say, this is just life. How can you say that when we're right in the middle of all of this disaster? And it's like, no, been here, done that. We understand how to rise above this,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, the generation of the Great Depression is a perfect example of this. Yeah. Is they had to begin to look above the present to be able to see what was working and what was in operation and what was moving and what was flowing. And through all that process, we see one of the greatest movements of the 20th century begin to occur, just simply because they didn't get bogged down in the immediate. Yeah. They began to rise, when we're talking about like how the growth of Pentecostalism really, really expanded throughout the 1900s. While that's going on, the only way they were able to take that faith to a new level, new experiences, et cetera, was that come up higher, come up higher, come up higher.
Yeah, I find it really interesting how that meteorologists, how they word things. We're right in the middle of hurricane in Louisiana. Hurricane just blowed in, and everybody, trees down, everything's going on, and then you listen to this meteorologist say this system, and when he says system, hey, this is a storm.
Exactly.
And the truth is, that's what they're looking at it as, is it's a system that has moved across, and the way that they're thinking is this is just a system. And I think that's the way the Lord actually wants us to think sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a system. It's something that's just happening, and it's not going to be here very long. He says he'd be with us no matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
He's going to be with us right in the middle of that. Again, as we grow older, we realize that these little systems come in life, and 20, 30 years ago, I'd say that was a disaster.
Yeah.
But the truth is, God's saying no.
And an interesting take on that too is when we think of a storm, we think of what's in our immediate area, what's impacting us. But when we look at it from the system, from the idea and the perspective of a system, it's not just happening to us. It's happening the next town over. It's happening 3 roads over. It's happening here, and it's happening there. And, it's just another interesting take on that bird's eye view as you begin to realize, okay, not just where Jesus is, but you begin to realize, hey, I'm not alone in this. Like, there's others that are battling the same thing, and we're going to push through it, and we're going to overcome, and we're going to be better for it on the other side. But again, the systems is like, a system is going to move across a large area, and it's impacting everyone in a longer vicinity, not just what I see in my immediate world.
Isn't that something, Gabby?
Yeah.
And, going through those teenage years, you remember that?
Yeah. Thank goodness social media was not around.
Oh my.
We'll just say that. Like, we had our 35 millimeter disposable cameras, and that was high tech right there. So had social media been around, I would definitely remember them more than I ever wanted to.
Yeah. See the things that we endure as teenagers.
Yeah.
All of the trials, and we go home and we fall apart because some little girl broke our heart or something of that nature.
And she just had to be the one, didn't she?
Yeah.
Just had to be.
And then we're over it, you know. But it's interesting how that as you walk with God and you go through seasons, and God shows you time and time again how that He's faithful.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how that He proves Himself over and over. And then when those things come, we know that they're not here to stay. They'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. And such a powerful thought about that. Just, hey, you know what? Find your way out of it and understand that, Pastor said this again, and it just reiterates again the power of this when he said the answer to our problem, the answer to our situation, our way out is Jesus. Yeah. And if we can find Him,
that's right.
Everything else is okay. And He may not be at the place like, he I really want to bring this up again because this kind of rattled me a little bit. And it rattled me in a good way. Like, just really made me contemplate things. Is, He said that at the altar, like, where we want to dwell, it's the presence of God. And He said, but we've got to realize that sometimes we meet Jesus here, but then Jesus moves further down the road for us. Yeah. And we've got to find where Jesus is.
That's right.
Like, Jesus today, for me, may not be where I encounter Jesus today may not be the exact same place and exact same situation where I encountered Jesus before.
That's right.
And I've got to find Him. It's part of that growing and becoming and going up higher to a new level and a new dimension. And man, that just rattled me. It's like, you know what? All right, my calling today, where I need to serve Jesus, may not be where it was.
That's right.
And that just kind of like really dug into me a little bit, just to understand, look, we want to dwell at the altar, but God didn't leave everyone at the altar. Like, he said, okay, now it's time to do new things. Like, he didn't leave John at the foot of the cross. He said, now it's time to go over here and learn how to be a disciple and to make disciples.
So true.
Yeah. And so, like, looking at that too, that concept of this, hey, look, yes, I encountered God at the altar, and I followed the fire, and I followed the smoke. But guess what? The smoke and the fire, as he mentioned,
moves.
the smoke and the fire moves.
It moves.
And if I'm going to stay in tune with what Jesus' plan and purpose is for my life, I have to be willing to move. I have to be willing to follow his voice no matter how scary, and follow him where he is no matter how scary, no matter how uncomfortable it may be.
And that's our nature, though. You know, we like that comfort. We like that comfortable spot, you know, where everything is still in its same place and it's still, you know, we know exactly where it's at, and that's just a part of us, you know.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the things of God, God moves, and he wants you to. I think he wants to move. He wants us to move intentionally. He's moving around, and he's trying to get you. You don't need to get comfortable. You just need to. You need to move when I move.
Right.
So, yes. Oh wow, what a message!
Yeah,
What a
fantastic
message.
word. Fantastic word that challenged in so many different aspects.
Yeah, want you to. If you got time this week, look that back up online, and it may be that you were in the service. I tell you what, I've learned a lot by going back and listening to these over and over. What a timely message! I think that each and every one of us could actually say that's helped us. But encourage you to do so. Want to invite you to be a part of us. If you're not here at CAC, invite you to come be a part of us. Come join us in service. CAC Chattanooga.org.
Be in service, like physical address, 6314 East Brainerd Road, Chattanooga.
Yeah.
We're on all the socials. You can find us there. Look us up on YouTube, etc. You know, probably where you're watching. If you're watching this on the YouTubes, you're probably watching and know how to find us. So
that's right.
So find us, come visit. We'd love to meet you. We'd love to get to talk to you and just have the opportunity to serve God together with you and help you to grow in God as we grow together.
Amen. God bless you today. Glad you're on Footnotes with us.